Hello, brothers and sisters of the church. Well, happy Thanksgiving. You know, we have great weather today. It couldn't be any better. I wanted to share with you a verse of scripture out of Psalms chapter 95, verses 2 through 3. It says, "Let us come before his presence with thanksgiving. Let us shout joyfully to him with psalms. For the Lord is a great God and King above all gods." You know, as we enter into this Thanksgiving time, I want you to think about Psalm 95. And it calls us to come before God with grateful hearts, not just with songs, but with confidence, because the Lord is a great God. His greatness is not distant, it's not abstract, and it's not confined to the past. God's greatness is experienced daily by those who walk with Him. You know, we see in one of the passages of Scripture a perfect picture of God's provision and His care for us. Only a month after the Hebrews had been set free from their slavery in Egypt, they began crying out, "We have no food." And what does God do? He provides for them manna from the sky. You know, I think about the leaves that are on the ground surrounding me. We can't eat them. That's a shame, isn't it? And the longer they remain on the ground, the more they begin to rot. It's always easier to rake the leaves up right after they fall than it is several weeks later, especially after they become wet and begin the decaying process. Very similar to the manna. The Hebrews had to go out every day to collect the manna that God had provided for them. And if they collected more than they needed and tried to store it away, it became maggot infested and quickly rotted away and was of no value to them. And yet, to show the miracle and to show how God was at work, He was providing them on the last day, or rather the sixth day of the week, enough manna to carry them through the Sabbath day. So that one day they were to collect twice as much. There's a hidden message there in the manna. Manna fell every single morning for a reason. God was showing Israel something very powerful, something that remains true to this day. And that's that I don't want you to live on yesterday's blessing. God, rather, wants us to walk with Him today. So it's not just on something that happened in the past, but it's what God's doing right now. I want you to stop and think about what God's doing today. You know, as you think about your testimony, think about a testimony of what God's done this past week in your life. What has He actively done around you? Don't just look always to the past, but look at the present. So manna, it wasn't just a food that God was providing for the people, but it was a relationship that He was giving to them. God was teaching His people to rely on Him moment by moment. You know, as a missionary, and a missionary that's lived by faith for many years, that we didn't go out and try to drum up support, but we shared with people the need that we had, and then let God work in people's hearts to provide. And sometimes there was very little, but we never were completely without. God always provided. Jeff and I, that is, we saw how God provided that. So, as I said before, they couldn't store up the manna. It was to be used right then. He only gave them what they needed in that time, and even gave them enough for their time of rest. So because God gives grace just like He gave manna, He gives that grace one day at a time, right at the moment that we need it most. And that was where Thanksgiving begins. Not only by looking back at what God has done, but recognizing what He is doing right now. What's He doing right now? What's He doing this very day in your presence, within your family? Each day He sustains us. Each day He provides. And each day he invites us into a relationship of trust. You know, the Hebrews, that was a part of what's taking place is they had to trust that God was going to provide manna for them the next day. That's why they weren't to store it up. They were to have a trusting relationship with him. So as Psalm 95 says, come before his presence with thanksgiving, not only for the blessing of the past, but for the miracles of today, the strength he gives today, and the grace he offers for today. For truly, the Lord our God is great, and a great King above all gods. May our Thanksgiving this year be fresh, and may it be a time of praise and worship to the Lord. As my brother Jeff said, you know, it's wild. Thanksgiving is, in a sense, the most biblical holiday that we celebrate, yet it's not one in the Bible. Yet the theme of thankfulness is all through the scriptures, and we find that theme really reinforced throughout the Psalms. And at this time of the year, I just want to encourage you to sit back and think of the greatness that God's done around you. Brothers and sisters, I do hope and pray that this is a blessed day for you. Until Sunday, God bless.